Good.
Well, good evening, everyone. I hope you had a fantastic week. I know I did. And as usual, just look forward to getting together on Sunday evenings
Amen.
to just get our batteries recharged. And as always, we'll kick it to Tim for our words of wisdom. Tim.
Words of wisdom. Good. Um, they've changed a little bit just based on the what I went through last week. The words of wisdom are integrity is what you do when nobody's looking. If you have integrity, nothing else matters. If you don't have integrity, nothing else matters. Now, this is amplified by the fact I was just with Amanda at Wisconsin Music Educators this last week. And at the end of one of the sessions, this lady came up to me, a really nice woman, and she said, I want to thank you and also warn you. And okay, here we go. She said, I used to come to your workshops when I was in high school. She came 3 years, and she said, we'd always make you tell the story about flushing toilets. And I know you've all heard it. You know, if you don't have people in your schools that have sense enough to flush toilets, that's part of servant leadership. And she said, you know, everybody kind of, and then she said, you'd said, if you have real integrity, it's that you'll flush them without having anybody else around. You just check it out. And she said, this is like 14 years ago. And she said, I cannot walk in a bathroom today and not flush toilets. She said, I'm obsessed because I really have integrity. You know, and that after 3 hours of her leadership workshop, that's what she remembers with flushing toilets. But it certainly is a good mantra for everything else we do. Integrity is what we do when nobody's looking. And you can walk right by that candy wrapper on the floor and nobody will ever know you didn't pick it up, except you'll know. That's what integrity is, face the person in the mirror. So, Scott, what you got for us, buddy?
Oh, that's fantastic, Tim. So I have a tip of the week, and it actually stems from a conversation I had with my daughter this week, and it's based on a couple of stories. So back, let's see, the movie Jaws came out in 1975, and I think most everybody knows that John Williams wrote the music for that. And in the late 1980s, I'm telling my age, that's okay. In the late 1980s, I lived in Boston. And later in the season, they started the Boston Pops. And at the time, on Friday afternoons, I guess most of you know John Williams at one point conducted the Boston Pops, right?
Hmm?
And so there was one Friday afternoon they would do a TV taping for a concert that would later be aired on PBS on television. And so this particular week, John Williams showed a clip from Jaws with no music. And matter of fact, you can go on YouTube, and he's done this a couple of times. You can put John Williams Jaws with and without music, and you can see this whole process. But he played a clip of the movie with no music at all. And to be totally honest with you, it looked a little silly. It was just kind of plain. And then he went back and he said, you know, this is what I get from the director, and this is what it sounds like with the music. Well, as soon as the music started, it created tension. It highlighted various things that happened in the scene. It was just incredibly powerful. So it was a kind of a lesson to me, just, you know, the power of music. So I want to share this other story. I'm gonna read it here, and it's about a young lady, a teenager, who woke up on a Saturday morning. Her intention was to go to a movie with one of her friends. The teenager wakes up, grabs her phone, and goes to the music app to start her day with some music. When she hits the app to view the playlist, it simply says, no music available. She then gets ready to leave the house and gets in the car where she normally has the radio dialed in to her favorite music station. But on this day, the station she loves is only transmitting talk radio. As she surfs for other favorite radio stations, she quickly realizes that all of them are now airing talk radio. Not that I have anything against talk radio. She arrives at the movie theater, purchases her ticket, and goes into theater number 14. As the previews begin, she notices there's no music for the movie trailers. As the anxiously awaited feature movie begins, she immediately realizes that there's no music soundtrack, no sound effects, no soundscape whatsoever. At that moment, a horrible feeling comes over her, because she realizes that all the music in her life has been taken away. There's literally no music. Sometimes when we think about our lives and think about, what would our lives be without music? It's just a hard thing to think about, right? Music allows us to be who we are. And the power of music, and think about just the number of experiences and the number of organizations and entities that would just cease to exist. So, my tip of the week is to revel in the power of music and the fact that we get the opportunity to make music with our students every day and we get to help them be the best versions of themselves. It doesn't get much better than that. That's my tip of the week. Tim, I'll pass it back to you.
That's a great tip for all of us. That must have been pretty enlightening, I think is the right word. Can you imagine Jaws without music? Because that was when you hear do, 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 and then everybody in the theater starts grabbing a hold, here comes that big fishy again, right?
That's
Um,
it. Yep.
this is so important because I think it was on Friday, Steve, you and I talked, and I think we all know Tony was supposed to be here tonight, and Sue, his wife, was having trouble, and so Steve and I are talking back and forth, and I'm like, "No, we'll get somebody." No, good. No, no, that you can't. And I'm like, I wonder if I any chance I could get Trace to come. Well, they had homecoming at K-State. I'm like, oh God, he's got all that, and he's got a game at that night and everything, and I'm like, okay, give it a shot. And nothing else, you get to talk to one of your best friends. I called him and I said, we do this thing, so forth. And now he's in the thick of homecoming right now. You know, missiles are coming from every direction. I said, is there the slightest chance? I didn't finish the sentence. He goes, yeah, whatever it is, I'll do it. And I went, oh my God, that's why he's who he is. He didn't say, let me think it through. I'll check the calendar. I'll have my secretary look. It was just, yeah, I'll do it. Whatever you want me to do. And so today, when I talked to him, after he'd been through a weekend with dump trucks driving across his face and coaches and screaming people with vulgar chants in the stadium, I called him. We went through some things, and he goes, "Yeah." And then he called me back, and he goes, "Hey, listen, if you try to call me again, I'm going to be out mowing my yard. So I just want to let you know." God, isn't it wonderful to be around real people like that? In our profession, I don't want to blow sunshine, but I don't know anybody that represents what a great band director is than Dr. Frank Strace. You know why? He does all the bands. You put three people in front of him, two clarinets and a tuba, and he'll direct the band. That's what he is. So, Dr. Trace, thank you so much for joining us. Let's all give him a great hand for being here tonight and tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Well, it is a pleasure to be here, and to be quite honest with you, I think I told this when you called me. It was about 7 minutes before the parade was going to begin. Massive parade in downtown Manhattan, Kansas, and the people that were running it were college students and recruiters from the university, who you know as well as I do, and all you band directors. Nobody organizes like we do. Nobody knows how to, because they don't have to. So this was a cluster of traffic. Some roads were failed to get blocked and stuff. So I went out. I took my cart. I have a golf cart here, and I blocked one set of roads. And I was standing out in the middle directing traffic to get people out of the street where I could line my 410-piece marching band up. So I moved. I was blowing whistles, waving people in. Of course, you're in Manhattan. Everybody knows you. So they were stopping, and we cleared it out, and we did the parade. So, you got to do what you got to do. But that's what it's all about here. I'm from, and you're gonna like this. I love the bathroom story that we were talking about here earlier. Those of you that don't know, that are now confused to where this is going. But we talked about servant leadership and flushing toilets, even though you don't have to, and it's none of your business, quote unquote, type of thing there. But this is honest to God true story. Do you know this is as close to greatness as I will ever get, other than being around you, Tim? Frederick Fennell and I went to the same elementary school. Different times, but the same elementary school, Miles Elementary in Cleveland, Ohio. So every time I think about that, I may have sat on the same toilet that Frederick Fennell sat on. And so I'm thinking, this is destiny. This is just destiny. So, I understand. So, yeah, I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. I wanted to be a high school band. I wanted to be a junior high band director in Columbus, Ohio. That's all I wanted to be. Went to the Ohio State University. Was in the band there. Was in the marching band there and the concert band when Woody Hayes was winning ball games, and Archie Griffin was winning Heisman trophies, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, you know, and that's the old motto there. But I graduated. There were no jobs. It was the oil crisis, 1978. Jimmy Carter was in office. All kinds of hostages in Iran. It was just a mess, and there were no jobs, people getting laid off. So I ended up in Wisconsin working part-time in elementary and junior high school in DeForest and Windsor, Wisconsin. Then I got my master's from the University of Wisconsin with Mike Leckrone, who was a great guy, great teacher, great musician. Just I learned a ton from him. So I did that for 2 years, and I went back to Ohio and I taught high school at West Geauga High School for 4 years. And when I went there, I thought I could be a high school band director for the rest of my career. This is a great place. This is where family is. But then I got the bug. So I wonder what it's like to be a teacher of teachers. So I went back to the Ohio State University after I got my master's from Wisconsin, which, by the way, Tim, when you're up in Wisconsin, did you go to Pisons and get the hot spicy cheese bread and the white sangria? He's not talking. Yeah, but it's good. Anyway, I did my doctorate at Ohio State. My first college teaching job was at Syracuse University, just assistant director of bands. That's all I wanted to be. And then I thought, well, man, what it's like to be director of bands and do the whole thing. So I went to Morehead State, was there for 2 years, and then I get a call from a place called Kansas State. Never heard of it, didn't know where Kansas was. Called my wife. This was before the internet and cell phones. She told me it's below Nebraska. I asked her, where's Nebraska? From home, and I'll show you a map. So we did. And I said, I think we're moving. So I came here a long time ago, 32 years ago. And honestly, just thought I'd stay a year or two. I mean, it's Kansas, for God's sakes. Who wants to live in Kansas, right? But I do. I've lived here longer than I've lived any place. And as Tim would say, you know, you got to find a home and build a kingdom because the grass ain't greener on the other side, you know. So it's I've stayed here and it's worked out pretty well for me, I think. And we've got a good band program. I do a lot. I'm director of bands. I direct the marching band. I direct the Top Wind Ensemble. We have 5 concert bands. We've played at CBDNA regionals. We played at ABA. We won a Sudler Trophy with the marching band, and we just beat our rival last night in football. So we're 7-1, and game was over about midnight or so, and went through the McDonald's drive-through at 1:05. I was the last one through, so I got 2 extra cheeseburgers and a large order of fries instead of just fries. This happens when they know you in a small town. They load you up on this stuff so that, you know, you eventually die and have a heart attack yourself. So, but it was all good. So that's what I do. I teach. I'm up here on a Sunday night. We're getting ready for the week. You know, another set of rehearsals with the concert bands, and we have football games coming up and concerts coming up, and a big concert band clinic in January we're organizing. We just finished our marching festival of 40 bands, and so here we go. It's just another day, you know. And so it's a lot of fun. I like I said, I never thought I'd stay here. Thought I'd be gone in a year, and you know that find a home, build a kingdom thing. I'm still building. Not sure what it's going to be, where it's going to go, but I'm still building. And so it's been kind of it's been a great ride.
Frank, would you tell them what the band was like when you got there? Now, I happen to know because I taught at the University of Missouri, which was right next door, and K-State at that time was in the same league. So just share a little bit of what you inherited and what your colleagues told you about taking that job.
Well, you know, as soon as I got the job, I called a famous colleague down the road here and asked him, you know, what do you think? And he said, run. I said, to it. He said, no, away from it. So it's a mess. It's not going to get any better. But I got to tell you a quick little ditty about this. When I interviewed, I applied for the director of bands job at Kansas State. It was not marching band. And they were, at that point, they were going to hire a director of bands. And then that person was going to be one of the lead interviewers, and somebody's going to be assistant director of bands and do the marching band. Well, my first interview, which will never happen again, was with the president, the vice presidents. There were about 25 people in this huge oak table in the president's office room. And he started to rant and rave about the university and how he got the job here. He stayed 23 years, which no president ever does. And he started to build a program. He started to build a university that was down to 12,000 students. When he left, it was 24,000. We were a top university and a lot of things. And he said, you know, we just hired this football coach named Bill Snyder. And he said he's going to build us a football program that's going to be the envy of the country. And we're going to be vying for national championships soon. 5 years later, we were. So this guy was right on it. And he said, we have a marching band here that is less than desirable. And he said, and I made some phone calls and I got some names and everybody gave me your name, said that you're the person that could turn this thing around and build a program here. And I was laughing to myself. I'm thinking, there's just a lot of enemies around. They wanted to send me to Kansas, for God's sakes, you know? So then he pounded his fist on the table, and like the tennis match, everybody at the table was looking at him. Then he pounded his fist and he says, can you fix this? We told you could. And everybody turned and looked at me like I was supposed to have an answer. Now, remember, that's not the job I applied for. I applied for director of bands. It had nothing to do with the marching band. So, you know, mama didn't raise no dummy. I quickly knew that in that room, athletic people, deans, fundraisers, everybody was at that table. I knew right away that, okay, there's a lot of money and there's a lot of power in here. So I'm going to do the marching band. I'm going to do them. And I went off on it and I got the job after a 2.5 hour interview with the president and his council. And I haven't met anybody in the School of Music. Nobody. I already got the job. They offered it to me. And see, I couldn't even get on a cell phone and go to the bathroom and call my wife, you know, to ask her because she's the smarter one. That didn't exist. So I went and interviewed at the School of Music and it was not good. But I quickly realized that, okay, I'm no longer getting interviewed. I'm doing interviewing because this is going to take some work. But I did realize that there were a lot of power and a lot of money behind this. And with anything, you know, sometimes what I do and we all do with the marching band and the jazz ensemble and the pep bands is looked at as a non-artistic venture and stuff. But in my humble Polish Catholic Cleveland, Ohio opinion, anytime I can get an instrument in a kid's hand and they're playing, we can make music, whether that's with a pep band, a rock band, a jazz ensemble, a marching band, or whatever. We're going to make some music. And so I took the job and just went to work and started to work on this thing and realized, you know, my mantra probably at that time after, you know, I learned from, I took a couple notes here already from what you guys are talking about at the beginning about the John Williams thing. I'm going to Google that tonight and use that my next band meeting here about creativity and what music means. But, you know, I looked at this and, you know, find a home and build a kingdom, but every aspect I go into, every rehearsal, every job, every task I had to do, I look at it and I approach it like, what is? This is what I got. What is? But my immediate reaction to that, the next question is, what could be? And for some reason, growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, in that blue collar steel factory background, you know, that's what I was taught. You know, take what you got right there and make it the best it possibly can, and you'll do it. So that, you know, I look at that, what is and what could be. And my key, as I've learned over my career, and I'm not done learning this yet, is that you start to figure out ways to build that bridge to get from what could be or to what is to what could be. That takes a lot of time. That takes an attitude. That takes a work ethic. And again, I'm near the end of my rodeo here. My horse is getting tired here. You know, I've been at this a long time, but I'll get in trouble for this. I think that's missing in a lot of band directors now and a lot of music educators. They just don't know how to look at things and say, this is what is, and then we complain and we point fingers and blame other people. But I immediately go to what could be. And I think the glory in this whole thing is building that bridge from what is to what could be. And it's not, in another lesson, it's not the product, it's not the end goal that the glory, there's no glory, there's not a lot of glory there. The best part of it is the path to get there. Because as close as I can come to where I want to be and what could be, the minute I get close, I realize that's not all it could be. So I move that marker down the road. So I'm yet to get to any place that I've actually achieved what could be. You know what? I hope I never do. I hope I never do, because then I'm not needed anymore. And the trip's over. And it's the journey and it's the process, I think, that is the bottom line. I mean, that's what we try to teach. That's getting harder. I'm right there with you. Everybody's listening. I am right there with you with this generation. You know, if we could do a collective slap right now to wake everybody up, we could do this. And I'm including band directors too. You know, I judged a contest a couple of weeks ago when I was the music performance person. And right now, marching bands are so theatrical and so many props and so many other things that are going on. I was the music judge, and for 2 minutes and 47 seconds, they didn't play a note. There was electronics, there was acting, there was singing, there was dancing, there was even from the band members. And my comment in the recorder was, you know, I am the music judge. And as soon as you play some music, I'll be right there with some comments for you. But I'm going to go get some coffee now. I'll be back later. Of course, that went over like, yeah. But anyway, but it was the truth. And so, you know, I look at this and I look at what we're doing in the profession, and it's the same battle. It's just a different year. We keep growing, we keep getting better. But it's the old, you know, never give up, never quit. And that's what we have to do. And I think my biggest fear in my career is I'm going to get to the place where I think that's as good as I can go, as far as I can go, as good as I can get. Then I'm going to be thinking, okay, I have to reevaluate, because it always can get better. And I enjoy the daily activity. It's Sunday night. You know, this is not me just being up the band office because of slam. I'm up here on Sunday nights anyway. You know, we have late football games, and we have classes to teach and stuff. And I'm involved in an awful lot of things here, but you just get prepared for the week and you go after it. It's a career style. It's a lifestyle. It's not a job. No question. It's not a job. So it's one of those where, you know, you look at what is and what could be, and the fun is pulling all of your educational background and all your experiences and all these sessions that you go to build that bridge. Try some things, you know. I've laid some planks on that bridge that didn't last, you know, and you take them out and you put some new ones in and you learn and you go forward. And I'm telling you, that's the glory of this thing. That's where the beauty is.
Frank, would you talk about the video that somebody sent me at 3:45 a.m. a couple weekends ago on a Saturday night?
Well, let me correct you. It wasn't 3:45. It was 5:15 a.m.
Oh, 5:15. I apologize.
Yeah, that's right. We had our marching festival and we had 40 bands. So I was in the stadium, and our athletic folks are incredibly good to us. We use all the facilities and Jumbotron and press box and basketball arena and indoor football. It's amazing. And there's a reason for that. There is a reason for that. We have made the band an important part of what they do. And so we had 40 bands. We did 16 clinics, the first 16 bands to ask for and pay for a clinic. I split my staff in half, and we go to each clinic site and work for an hour with them. Then they come up and perform. It's a massive day. It's a great educational day. If I was a band director, I'd be all over this. So we get 40 and we shut it down real quick. But anyway, they're at 7 o'clock in the morning at the stadium running the festival. By the time I got back to the office that night was after midnight, where the band hall is, after midnight. And I was listening to the Colorado K-State football game. And we won. At 1:30, the game was over, we won. And so we have a tradition here that started 25 years ago, just because I thought it was the right thing to do. We had an away victory against the University of Texas many, many years ago that we weren't supposed to win. And I thought, wouldn't it be great if we had a pep band meet the team as they got off the bus at the Vanier football complex? So I made some phone calls before the internet again, and got maybe 15, 20 kids. We played the fight song and Wabash Cannonball, and they thought it was great. Coach Snyder thought it was great. Well, that has grown. So switch forward 32 years. Saturday night at 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:15, I just sent an email to the mass band, 415 member band. And I said, Vanier Victory Pep Band, here we go. See you at 3:30. Plane lands at 3, be back at Vanier at 3:30. Well, I kept updating it. Finally, it was 5:15 that we played. So we came, and there were over 250 kids that showed up at 5:15 in the morning after a day of marching festival where they all worked and they performed. And these kids, it was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and they were just jumping around and playing and singing and dancing. And I looked, I said, you know, this is why we do this. You know, it's 5:15 in the morning. I fully expected once again to get a phone call from one of the local PD, you know, Frank, it's 5:15. We got some complaints. I said, well, we'll be done here soon. Yeah. But the 3 buses of the team come up to the football complex after landing at the airport, and their police escort and the whole bit, and they get out. And the coach comes up, gives me a hug, high fives and the whole bit, and tells me how great this is and how much he appreciates. The team stood around and clapped and danced and did all the stuff with us, said thank you to the kids. And then we played for another 10 minutes and we all went home. And first of all, that's just the right thing to do. it's keeping the college kids in the college football game, because it's anything but college kids anymore. And it's the band is the last bastion, and so are the cheerleaders. But we were there, and that is money in the bank. We need something. We have an issue. We need the football coach to get involved with, or the athletic director, or somebody over there with the players. They're right there. They did a video, a TikTok video of or whatever social media it was, thanking the band. And I thought that was cool. So, we'll do it. I'll send a coach on a Friday while they're loading up the plane, getting ready to go. I'll send them a text, says, hey man, we'll see you Saturday morning, 2:00, bring back a W. And they do. So here we are. So it's a cool thing.
Frank, how do you, this kind of a related question, how do you handle student leadership on the university level? And then how does that help contribute to a culture of excellence?
Well, it's right out of your book, Scott, and it's right there. And we've been doing this for a long time, but we have a process here. We have made the leadership things a very valuable thing to the band. It really helps the band, but more importantly, it is extremely valuable to the student that's a student leader. And I'll start it with this. I tell them that, first of all, 25% of our band are engineers and architecture majors. They're the busiest people on campus. Their junior year of architecture is crazy. You're not allowed to sleep. It's like me, and might as well be a band director, for God's sakes, right? So they come in and they work with people, and I tell them all the time. I said, you're not going to lose your job because you don't know your profession. You don't know architecture, you don't know engineering, you don't know music, you don't know how to teach. That's not how you're going to lose your job. You're going to lose your job because you have no people skills and you have no organizational skills. That's what's going to kill you right there. So here's an opportunity with this leadership system for you to learn those two things in an environment where it's going to be safe. You're going to be in the ring, you're going to box, you're going to get a bloody nose, and you're going to get a black eye, but I'm going to pull you out and I'm going to show you how to put your hands up and punch back. And then I'm going to throw you back in the ring and I'll give you a pat on the back, right? To go get it. So we have a system where the kids, they vote for their leaders. We've already voted for next year's leaders. We vote in mid-October. And the reason we vote in mid-October is because that's when the poop hits the fan. Mm-hmm. We have a number of home games in a row, midterm exams, papers are due, boyfriend and girlfriend have dumped them. Mom and dad said, you're running out of money, get a job. The weather changes. It goes from 90 degrees to 9 degrees and snowing and rainy. So now all of a sudden we really find out who the leaders are in the band. And I prepped the kids. I said, you vote for who's going to be the leader of this band in the future. And so we take those votes. And then what we do is after spring break, and this is interesting too, because I never have to send out a reminder email. I'll send out the email of the top 5 or 6 vote getters. And I tell them anybody could sign up. You don't have to get the most votes, because we presently have section leaders that did not get the popular vote. Because we knew that when they came in an interview, they were good people. You could see through things. So we have them interview with me or one of my assistants, and then we make a decision based on the votes that they got from their rank and file leadership to what we hear. And then we train them. We just don't put them out there and go, we train them. We've had Tim in here. We've had other people in here. We do things over the summer. I send them videos and things that they have to watch and do things like that and answer questions and do some paperwork and stuff. And then when they get here, we have 2 days of leadership training. And then the kids show up. And then we watch and we'll have sessions. And we take them to dinner about 3 or 4 times a year. We'll go to the local pizza ranch where you could load up on food for the rest of the week and take a good 3 or 4 months of your life away by clogging up your arteries here. But they love it. So we take them there. And if I could get them there, if I could feed them, they'll listen. So we eat and then we talk about what's going well, what their problems are, what they're realizing, what they're seeing, what they're doing, and we'll give them some suggestions, me and the staff and the graduate students there and some other people coming by. So we do train them. So that's the leadership system. And we rehearse the band. It's a big band, but there's every day that we'll break and say, all right, go to your sections. You got 7 minutes. Here's what I want you to fix. And so we have a section leader that organizes it. We have an assistant section leader that helps them. We have a music instructor that does the music rehearsal. Then we have a marching and maneuvering person that does that teaches them how to march. Now, the bigger sections, we have 75 trumpets in the band, Between the 75 of them, we have probably a 2-octave range, I had to get that in there. Sorry. But So we split them up and they go do their thing and they come back. So they're involved. They're involved and they deal with discipline problems. They deal with attitude problems because that's what it's all about. We deal it on a big picture, but we divide it up by section and they deal with it individually. And they'll come in there, they'll have some tears and they'll have some frustrations. And I can't do this. And I said, sure you can. If I can do it, you can do it, you know, and here's how. So it's a great learning experience. We need it. The band would not be able to do what we do if we didn't have that leadership system. And the best part, I've been here long enough that, you know, you become well known. And we have a following with this band that's incredible. Over my career here so far, we have raised probably over $5 million in scholarship endowments. So every member of the leadership team, there's 62 of them, gets a scholarship. There are people that love the clarinets. You're going to ask a lot of questions with that statement, but they love the clarinets. And so they give money to the clarinets. Tubas and percussion are big recipients. So for the largest recipients of scholarships are the percussion and the clarinets, because some lady that was a business of her own and had no family and passed away, left it all to the clarinet section of the K-State marching band. So those clarinet leaders, there's 7 of them because there's 62 clarinets in the K-State band. I'm not going to cut a kid unless you're completely unteachable, because you'll learn and you'll be good for it. You'll be better for the world. There's no question. You'll be better for us. So those section leaders of clarinets are getting a free ride scholarship. That's how much the scholarship is. So every section leader, drum major, and we have 6 student staff that are going to be music ed majors. They're seniors. They've been through the band. We bring them in the staff and we turn them. When I tell them, you're going to learn the dark side. You're going to cross over on the other side there and you could never go back. You know, once you get through that gate, they lock it. You can't go. So we learn about students. We sign a letter of confidentiality. We learn about problems. We learn about issues. We learn about bus travel, about how to organize, you know, 9 buses in a truck to drive to Florida for the Pop-Tarts Bowl and how to feed them lunch. You can't go through the same drive-through at McDonald's, you know, so there's 3 separate stops with 3 separate buses with 4 or 5 restaurants available. You got 50 minutes off and on the bus and we go. And so they learn about that. They learn about a football game. They learn about setting things up with athletics. They go to events management meetings with us and their eyes are just blown wide open by the amount of people it takes to put a football game on. It's absolutely incredible at this level. You know, it's real serious at this level. So their eyes are just wide open and all of a sudden they're just better students all around. So we have a great leadership team, a great leadership system, and it works. And it's the only way. It's, you know, 400 something kids that divide and conquer. That's what we have to do. And they do real well. And they get scholarship for it. So you can't beat that.
People jump in with questions here. We've got this guy cornered. And I can tell you, walking downtown with him, it's like when Norm walks into Cheers. It is. I mean, the rest of us just fade back and everybody's like, ah, there he is. Hey, Dr. T. Whoa.
Every once in a while, there does appear a red dot on my forehead. So I just have somebody
Well,
impersonate.
that's just for people going, I want it right now. I'm going to throw out a word to you, Frank, and everybody else get their questions ready, or you know I'll monopolize it. I'm going to throw out a word to you. Just react to it. Relationships.
Important, extremely important. And I didn't know, and again, I didn't know all this stuff when I started. But you know what? I paid attention. I tell our kids the first lesson I teach them, and try to teach them, is you've got to be a sponge. Even if you don't think you need to absorb that, you need to store it someplace. In your high-tech computer world, you could come up with all kinds of files and store this stuff and look at it later. But you've got to sponge. You've got to absorb. That's all you have to do. Is just relationships are the key there. And again, I got a lot of friends, but not everybody's my friend. I've screwed some things up. There's no question we all do. But boy, when, you know, we built the new band hall here, and to get it going, it wasn't going real well because it was starting with COVID and all that stuff and raising money, and nobody knew what was going to happen in the world. And I called a very good friend, Coach Bill Snyder, had some coffee with him and sat down. And all of a sudden, the next day, the phone started ringing. People wanting to donate. Yeah, because of Bill Snyder, because of people like that. So it's at the college level here, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And in order to be successful with who you know, you got to pick the right friends. You got to do the right things. You know, yesterday we did 12 pep bands. 12 pep bands with 5 separate pep bands. We went around. Now you're going to love this because they're not free. We charge $1,500 and they pay them. And this is a great story. Does everybody know who Jordy Nelson is? Used to play for the Packers, was a wide receiver. He was a walk-on at K-State. Nobody wanted him. He turned out to be a great player just because Bill Snyder taught him. Well, 11 o'clock, 11:30 on Thursday night, last Thursday, I was really tired. And I told, man, I said, I'm turning off at 10 o'clock. I got to get some sleep. It's going to be a big weekend. Well, at 11:30, my phone dinged and I looked at it and it was a text message. And the text said, hey, are we all set for my family's pep band this weekend at whatever, at the game? And I was just going to ignore it. I said, I better answer it. And there was no name, so I didn't know. I didn't recognize the number. And I said, sorry, it's late. Who is this? And he texts back, said, Jordy Nelson. So I woke up, my attitude changed. I said, you betcha, Jordy, I'm going to be there. I knew all about this, and I knew nothing. I completely forgot about all this stuff. I said, by the way, what's stall number? And he says, it's RV 52 on the east side stuff. I said, we'll be there. We went over there, and a lot of his old college buddy friends, famous football players, Darren Sproles, you know, and Jordy Nelson was there. And I didn't tell the band kids this because I took my pep band, you know. We had 3 of us out with 3 pep bands, 4 pep bands apiece, 5 of us actually. So I went over there and told the kids, and they looked at right away and said, oh my God, it's Jordy Nelson. So, you know, that right there, and I'm sure he's going to send me a check. It's going to be more than what I asked for. And if he doesn't send me anything, that's okay. But what we did in the parking lot there was made a lot of friends, made a ton of friends. We played the fight song, we played Wabash. The Classic Cats danced, the drummers danced, the baton twirlers twirled, and the flags waved their flags, and we played school songs, and the world was a great place in Manhattan, Kansas for a while, you know, and it ended up being a good place because we won the game, so everybody's happy. So building relationships there's no secret to it. It takes time. You know, you're in this business. You're a band director, for God's sakes. If this was never going to be 9 to 5, it was never going to be 9 to 5, and unfortunately, some of the people we're putting out there think that's a 9 to 5 job. And man, go do something else. This is not. This is it. So the relationship building aspect of that is, you know, and that wasn't my intent, but we got a building, man. We got a building, brand new building.
Who's it named after?
The Trace family, you know.
There you go.
They know my family's much smarter and better looking than I am. So
Yeah, I think that's really cool element to think about. I've been in a bunch of schools the last 2 weeks, and 3 different buildings I was in, I heard, and Tim talks about this a lot. I heard lots of excuses of why where they are is someone else's challenge. And I don't have enough support. I don't have enough money. I don't have a fill in the blank. And so to me, I feel like, Frank, you just given me 2 questions that I'm going to now be empowered. And so I just ask those of you that are on the call. So when you think about his imagery about building a bridge from where you are versus where you want to be, what are some relationships that you could create that will help you become where you want to be? Because to me, when I think about in my challenges as a director, I didn't always have the answers. I didn't always have the solutions. Part of it is because I was creating the roadblock, perhaps. And if I connected and I built a relationship with somebody, suddenly that bridge got paved really quickly. And sometimes it's my fault, but sometimes I didn't know how to build the bridge to where I wanted to be. And so relationships, building with mentors or people that maybe had more insight into that particular challenge. So my question I will pose as I visit other buildings, but I pose to all of you, what are some key relationships, if you were being strategic, that would help you build the bridge from where you are to where you want to be in your own program? So thanks for that, Frank. That's that gives me some new framework into how to think about, okay, well, we're the bridge there, but how do I build the bridge if I don't really know how to do that? Okay, well, it's about relationship building, because relationships are what's going to bail you out or help you get there, or because it's always like I know all of us can think of at least two people that have already helped us get to where we are now. So maybe we just need to be more strategic in how we get from where we are. If we don't like it, we don't feel like it's, like Frank said, it wasn't what he thought he was going to be interviewing for, right? So we are where we are. And Tim, you've got lots of different phrases that you share with us. But usually it's not because suddenly they got somewhere where all the kids were amazing and great, or they had all the great, amazing parent support. It's probably because someone built relationships that allowed those environments to change and shift to create that moment. So anyway, that's my takeaway, Frank, from that so far. Thank you.
If I can jump in here, I think you hit the nail on the head here, because I think what we all do as music teachers, especially band directors, we do something for the students that is incredible, but we have incredible students, and the people that we service and the people that we serve, not just the students, but in my situation, the football team, the basketball team, the volleyball team, the president, the foundation director, the director of recruiting, the director of the alum, it goes on and on. But we are known, and all of us are known, our kids, we have the best kids. We have the best kids. And here's something that we give right now that is terribly needed. My kids walk out on a field, and we walk out in the parking lot, play something, and everything stops. And all of a sudden, it's not the band that walks in, it's hope that marches in. Because they see these kids. These kids, it was a 15-hour day yesterday for our kids. And they'd do it again, and they would. They'll do it again next week, for God's sakes. But they walk in, they have hope. There's a spirit of we can do this. And every parent, bar none, wants their kid to be in this band and your band, because they know what they need, because they're not given it. There's a great quote. There's a famous basketball coach here a number of years ago that we were friends. We went to lunch, and he was famous for asking questions when I went to lunch with him, but he would quickly answer it. Would give me a can. And he asked me, he says, Frank, he says, what do you think's wrong with kids today? Famous question. And before I could take a breath, he says, I'll tell you what's wrong with kids today. He said, parents and teachers expect a lot less out of them than we ever have before. And oh my God, that hit the nail, because it's true, especially coming out of COVID. We all backed off. And there's another saying that we quit teaching hard. We start and we now avoid hard. We don't put them in those situations and guidance to teach them how. This is not hard. As I tell the band kids here, if this is the most difficult thing you do in your lifetime, you are simply not paying attention, or you are institutionalized, one or the other. That's the only reason, because this is not difficult. And so we have to go back to teaching them how to deal with hard and not avoiding it, because we're all avoiding it right now. You don't have enough clarinets in your band. Go start some in 5th grade. Teach them how to play. Get some clarinets to come in and show them what it could be and get them excited about it. But it takes time. This does not happen in 2 hours. This is a career. This is a lifetime. As I look back at it and I keep thinking of all the ups and downs and so on and so forth, but I kept going because there was a great support mechanism here. And I realized that people knew that I wasn't producing a band. I wasn't producing athletic entertainment or concert entertainment for a concert audience. I was producing hope. The people that come to the concerts, and hope for the parents that their kids, because I'm a parent, and oh my God, there's sometimes I drop them off at school. I said, please pay attention. Listen to your teachers. I'm lost. I can't do this alone. I need some hope here. So I think that's what we do. And I think that's the secret. I think it is.
Hey, Frank, real quick, obviously when you got to K-State, there was probably a gap in pedagogy and culture. How did you marry those two together? And how does that marriage of content and context help grow a program at any level?
That's a great question. And I think what you have to do is it's just one small victory at a time. You're not going to step up to the plate and hit a home run. If I can't hit a fastball, the first thing I want to do is, at the very least, foul it off. I build up some confidence. The next thing, if I hit it back to the pitcher, that's okay. If I ground out the second baseman, that's okay. I'm building confidence. There's one step at a time to get you to the point that, okay, now I'm going to hit it as far as I can, and I'm going to fly out to the left fielder. Okay, so now I'll bet you I could hit this thing over the fence, or I could hit it in the gap in right center. I start to learn more and more. So it's one victory at a time, one step at a time. I learned that I save one kid at a time and one product at a time and build upon. Success breeds success. And everybody knows that. You know, we're known as the recruiting machine here because we're in Kansas. There are more cattle in Kansas than there are band members or more people. There's no question. 3 times as many. So, you know, this isn't Ohio where you got Cleveland, Cincinnati, Columbus, Ohio, so on and so forth, 17 million people in the state. We got like 2.9 or 3.4 million in the entire state. So we have to go out and recruit, and we have to bring a kid in here and teach them. I would much rather teach the farm kid with dirty fingernails and a scuffed up elbow that wants to learn, that has that squinted eye look, you know, and comes in your class and excited, or we build that excitement, and then we grow. And in the process of them getting better, pretty soon we're playing Holst for a sweet and E flat. You know, from Come to Jesus and Whole Notes, the swing version, which is quite popular. Yeah. So it just takes some time. It just, you got to start someplace. But I think the key to that, honest to God, is just to enjoy the process. Because it's going to start slow. I had no idea what I was doing. Some days I still don't think I do. I don't know if I answered that, but that was, you know, we're all looking for heroes. We're all looking for heroes, and every one of these teachers that's in here is a hero to a bunch of people. And you'll continue to be that, and that's important.
Yeah, we've had in the Tim's weekly emails, maybe you can go back and reflect the last few weeks, but we've been including a graphic talks about 5 minutes a day and how can we build relationships with 5 minutes a day. And it kind of goes back to what Frank was saying, right? It's all right, we got to start somewhere and just take little bites. And maybe we're not going to be successful, but maybe we will. But to me, I think crafting a culture seems ominous. But when you think about James Clear and Atomic Habits and just taking one little small something, 5 minutes a day, I'm going to focus on building a connection or a relationship somehow, just 5 minutes a day. That's doable. That's doable.
You know, David, that's a great point. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. My dad was a steel worker, and I saw him come home, and he raised 6 kids by himself. Mom passed away really early from cancer, so we didn't know. We just thought that's the way it is. And so I saw him, and he probably hated his job, but he told me before he passed away that, you know, I asked him, why'd you come to this country? And he said, I came to this country so my kids would have a better life than I did. I mean, how honorable is that? I mean, I hope to live up to that someday, for God's sakes. But I looked at him, and he did what he had to do to make enough money so his kids can have a good life and get them through it. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's an honorable thing to do, and that's what we all have to do. And so that's where we are at this point here. And we built this band hall, and on the exits to the practice field, there's an exit sign up above, and right below them, I put little placards. I change them every week. It's just kind of a motivational inspirational thing, and a lot of the stuff's from Tim, you know, all that sort of stuff. So it's there. But I put one up every week, and one of my favorites was I put a little sign up there that says, "If you're going through hell, keep going." And that's a Winston Churchill quote. And the kids think I make these things up until I tell them. I said, I don't make these things. I haven't had an original thought since freshman year at Ohio State. And that was like 2 in the morning in the dorms. And that had other influences there. So that's the original thought there. But, you know, I told them, I said, that was Winston Churchill. And the kids looked at me. They had no idea who Winston Churchill was. So I explained about the Blitzkrieg and the bombing and the smoking cigars in the basements, the below basements of the Parliament building and all that. There's a ton of quotes that go up there, and there's another one I put up there says that I do believe this is Bernstein. It says, to achieve great things, you need 2 things: a plan and not enough time. That's a band director right there. We have plans and not enough time. How many of you have ever had enough? How many ever stopped the rehearsal and said, hey, this is good, we're done? I have never done that. And I never will. And the kids ask me, are you ever happy with the way we play? I said, no, I'm not paid to be happy with the way you play. I'm paid to get you better, you know. We're doing well, but no, I'm still not happy yet, you know. So let's keep going. But you think about that. We have time constraints. We all have a plan, and we never have enough time. I've never had enough time to organize what I want to organize. But you know what? When it's said and done, when I'm done organizing, I have 10 minutes left. So I do something else. So it's exactly it. If you want something done right and you want it done by tomorrow, give it to somebody that doesn't have the time to do it, but has the energy and the grit to do it. It'll get done. That's the way. That's what band directors do.
Frank, would you real quickly, because I know we're running out of time here. This goes so fast. Tell the story about your dad when he got his thumb cut off at the
Yeah,
because
my dad was my dad was a steel worker, and I grew up in Cleveland. You know, the houses are 4 feet apart, and the lawns there. We had this little lawn in the front, a little bit on the side, and that was his baby, man. That's what he fixed up. Well, I came home one time in 7th grade, walking down the street, and I saw him out in front. It was 3 o'clock, and he doesn't come home till 4:30 from the steel mills. That's when supper was. We're out to be there, but it was 3 o'clock. And I saw him, and he has his right arm in this big cast and this big ball on his right hand. And he's pushing a lawnmower. It was a gas lawnmower, but it wasn't self-propelled. You had to push it. So he's pushing it with his left hand. And I came up to him, I stopped, said, "Dad, what happened to your arm? What's going on here?" And he said, just a little accident at work. I'll be all right. I said, let me put my bag down here. Let me do the lawn. He says, no. He says, I can do it. I said, come on, let me do it. He says, no, I still got one good arm. And so my dad pushed that thing with his left arm. Now, 12 weeks later, when it came out, we found out, because he didn't talk about this stuff, he crushed his elbow. He couldn't straighten his arm ever again. The pinky was gone. Half of the next finger was gone. The pointer finger, a quarter of it was gone, and half the thumb was gone. He dropped something on it, and they crushed it. So what they do is they just cut those off, and they sewed them up. And it was just ugly. But that's what it was. That's what you did in 1966, 1967. They just fixed you up, and you went. They took him to the hospital, sewed him up. There was no intensive care. There was no stay overnight so we could monitor you. They patched you up, sewed you up, gave you some painkillers, and you went home. So he went home, and he cut the lawn. Why? Because the lawn needed to be cut, and he wouldn't let me do it. And I looked at that saying, okay, so I have algebra homework tonight. This is a piece of cake. This is an absolute piece of cake. There's no question.
Jaden had a question. Jaden, jump in there real quick.
Hi, really quick. First of all of your stories are really funny. But the question that I have is, you say you have a leadership system with your students and your master students and everybody that's there. And I'm wondering, because I assume most of your section leaders aren't teachers yet, and if they are, they're going to be teachers of other subjects. How do you, as a music professor, music doctorate, let people know that mistakes are okay to be made and that they can recover from those mistakes so that they don't dwell on them for too long? How do you go about that process?
Oh, I give them a great example of making mistakes every day in rehearsal, especially in marching band. Okay. All of a sudden this pass-through doesn't work, and they'll say it's not going to work. We can't get drums and tuba screw through. I said, well, I thought you guys were a lot skinnier than that. So let me go rethink that thing here. Right. So we learn and we make mistakes. So I give them examples of mistakes, but what I do is give them an example of how to make it a little humorous or how to lighten up the moment at that time. And I'll say, look, I'll fix this tonight. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'll send you an email how to do that. And so they do. So they learn, and they're going to make mistakes. I make them all the time, all the time. It's just, I don't have good typing skills. So I send emails in a hurry, and I send them like 1:30 in the morning, because that's when I finally get to the computer. And the next morning, I'm a legendary for this, because the kids will laugh. Now look at the email and going, what is that word? That's not what I meant to say, but it's got this autocorrect on there, and I'm a 2-finger pecker, So it's something. So I make mistakes all the time, and they'll come back, and that's the best part. They expect them, and they'll come back with the answers. He meant to say that the bus is leaving at this time and this time here, And I laugh at him. I sent an email back. I said, don't make fun of your elders. And I misspelled elders, Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cece, you should jump in.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thanks for letting me crash the party. Frank, I don't know if you know this, that your beautiful and talented daughter, Kelly, comes and spends a week with me every summer.
She's amazing. She's my hero. She's an oboe performance major. And when she went to school, I got, oh my God. I mean, I see performance majors all the time. Like, you have no business doing this, but she's worked so hard. She's such a great player. She's the reason, I know you have a question, but she's the reason I never had a midlife crisis, because I spent my midlife crisis money on an oboe and an English horn. And that is a sports car and a cabin someplace in the woods in Wisconsin. I'm telling you.
And this is maybe not a question, but a testament to who you are, because When Frank says that, you know, Kelly's this incredible oboist, she is this incredible musician, and you would think, you know, some stuffy orchestral musician wouldn't have time to teach middle school kids, but I fly her to Atlanta, Georgia every summer to teach at our Cobb Summer Band Camp. And she teaches middle school oboes and bassoons better than anybody, obviously, because I'm flying her in from out of town. But you know, how did you raise this beautiful young woman that is this incredible teacher, and that she could just sit, you know, in her apartment work whittling away at reeds, but she still's giving to little snotty, you know, sixth graders who are honking away like this, you know,
But
like
she
was
she
in
she was a
school.
snotty little sixth grader. She's still a snotty little sixth grader. But I got to tell you, I'm married up. There's no question. I'm married way up. My wife is a great pianist, organist. She's a great musician. Kelly got her genes. But I got to tell you a Kelly story. Ready? This is important because Kelly was this petite, blonde, beautiful, intelligent, very talented young lady in high school. And she played the oboe, and she wanted to be an oboe performance major, wanted to play an orchestra and teach and all that. And she's doing that now. But on Friday nights, while she was growing up, before she was 18, before she could legally drive or do anything like that, she played in a rock band with 4 guys. She was the bass guitarist. So I'm a dad of 3 daughters. So I have a girl that's in a rock band. They would go in bars and play. And my job was to load her amp in and set everything up for her, and then stand in the back of the bar. And she had rules. She said, Dad, don't talk to anybody. Don't tell anybody who you are, and do not clap or dance. So I sat in the back, and she's rocking out with this band playing Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, this is my era. And I would start to move a little bit, and she would give me that look. Hey, like, back off, you know. But I was just the roadie. So I was Kelly's roadie. She'll ask her about that next time you see her.
I will definitely. And I say that you know, with everyone here, because you know, Kelly is fantastic. And my business partner, one of our slam members, CJ Longabaugh, is also just this incredible human. And both of those incredible humans, I think in large part, are who they are in our world because of Frank. And so the significance of the relationships that you are forming with your students, the relationships that your children and your family members see you building with the students that you're investing in, it pays dividends far beyond measure. So just thank you, Frank, for sharing time with us and
You know,
everyone.
CJ was the drum major of the K-State band here. Yeah.
Oh, I know.
And
He's
just a
getting a tattoo?
quick anecdote. I teach college, but I used to think that there was a big difference between teaching high school and teaching college, because at college you could smoke. But now they took the ashtrays away. You can't smoke within 50 yards of a building. So there are days I walk into my classroom thinking, is this high school, junior high, or college? I'm not sure, but it's the same thing. We are dealing with the same. You're not going to believe it, but you need to come and sit in the back room of one of my rehearsals. Oh my goodness. I mean, don't touch him. Don't touch her. Don't do that. Sit up straight. Yeah. 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 Try blowing in the other end. Here we go. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Tim, do you want to close things out for us tonight?
Sure, thanks, Cece. Well, first of all, let's unmute and just let Frank know how much we enjoyed him tonight, I think.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
It's fun. It's fun.
Thank you.
He's
go.
the real deal. He's the real deal. And he's percussionist too. So we can add another member to our orbit back there. That's great. And thanks to all of you. And again, Frank, there's so much to learn that's behind the scenes. But the fact that I said, would you? And I could have said, paint the tractor. And the answer would have still been yes. So I love you, pal. You know that, you're a dear brother. And to each and every one of you. And in your letter tomorrow, it's going to talk about integrity. And it's going to talk about, this is the time of the year when we need to push the pedal down. Because everybody else will start dragging their feet and have every reason in the world. Oh, the holidays are coming and I'm so tired and I just want to get to, oh, come on. We got 8 weeks to teach our butts off here. And that's what we need to do. You're right, Julie. That's right. So again, thanks, Dr. Trace. We appreciate you. We love you. Come back anytime. Got an
Thank you.
invitation forever. All of you, good night. Good night.